Everything you pay for every single month, your rent, your electricity, your grocery bill, your water, someone out there pays zero. Not because they're rich, because they built a system that eliminated every bill completely. Most homesteaders talk about reducing costs, saving a little here, cutting a little there. But what if I told you there are people living on remote homesteads right now who haven't paid a single bill in years? No mortgage, no electric company, no water utility, no feed store runs. Nothing. And they're not surviving. They're thriving. The land feeds them, the water comes free, the animals sustain themselves, and every single system they built costs them nothing to operate month after month after month. By the end of this video, you're going to see the exact systems that make a $0 homestead possible. 7 proven methods that eliminate your biggest expenses forever. And the best part? You don't need to move to the middle of nowhere to start using them. Here's what nobody talks about. The average American household spends over $2,500 a month just to exist. That's rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, water, insurance, fuel. Before you eat a single meal you grew yourself, you're already thousands of dollars in the hole. And it's getting worse every year. Electricity rates have climbed over 30% in the last decade. Grocery prices jumped nearly 25% since 2020 alone. Feed costs for livestock have doubled in some regions. You're working harder than ever just to stay in the same place. Most people start homesteading to escape this trap, but here's the cruel irony. They bring the trap with them. They buy a property with a mortgage, they hook into the grid, they run to the feed store every 2 weeks, they plant a garden but still spend $400 a month at the grocery store. They traded one dependency for another, just with more chores. The homesteaders who actually broke free didn't just reduce their bills, they designed systems that removed the bills entirely. And the further they went from town, from infrastructure, from the conventional way of doing things, the less they needed to pay anyone for anything. That's not fantasy, that's engineering. Here's what most people forget. For thousands of years, every homestead on Earth operated at $0 because there were no dollars. There were no utility companies, no feed stores, no grocery chains. People built shelters from what the land gave them. They drank from springs and collected rain. They raised animals that fed themselves on pasture, insects, and forage. They grew food in systems that regenerated the soil instead of depleting it. And they didn't just survive. Entire civilizations thrived this way for centuries. The idea that you need to pay someone else for every basic human need is barely 100 years old. Before rural electrification in the 1930s, millions of American farms ran without a single utility bill. Before commercial feed mills scaled up after World War II, livestock ate what the land provided. Before municipal water systems, every family knew how to source, store, and purify their own water. This isn't primitive. This is proven. Modern industrial agriculture and centralized utility systems didn't replace these methods because they were better. They replaced them because they were more profitable for someone else. The knowledge got buried under convenience, and now most people can't imagine life without writing a check to 5 different companies every month. But the old systems still work. The homesteaders living on remote homesteads today aren't reinventing anything. They're remembering what commercial agriculture spent decades making you forget. And the results speak for themselves. 0 recurring costs, total independence, and a quality of life that no salary can buy. If you want to learn how to eliminate your biggest expenses using proven natural systems that actually work on real land, subscribe now, because what's coming next is the complete blueprint. Item 1. Free water, springs, rain, and gravity. The first bill that disappears on a remote homestead is water, and it's easier than you think. A single inch of rainfall on a 1,000-square-foot roof produces over 600 gallons of water. That's drinking water, irrigation water, and livestock water, all from one rainstorm. Most rural areas get 30 to 50 inches of rain per year. Do the math. That's 18,000 to 30,000 gallons annually from your roof alone. The smartest remote homesteaders don't just collect rain, they stack systems. A gravity-fed spring at higher elevation means water flows to your house, your garden, and your animal troughs without a single pump. No electricity needed, no well pump to maintain, no $80 monthly water bill. I've seen setups where a homesteader buried a 1,500-gallon cistern, ran a gravity line from a hillside spring, and added a basic sand and charcoal filter. Total cost about $300 one time. Monthly cost after that? Zero. Forever. The key is elevation and storage. Get your water source above your usage points, store enough to cover dry spells, and you'll never pay for water again. But free water is just the beginning. Wait until you see what eliminates your housing payment entirely. Item 2. Zero-cost shelter, building from the land. The biggest bill in most people's lives is rent or mortgage. On a remote homestead, that bill can vanish completely. Traditional builders used what the land provided: timber frame cabins, cordwood walls, cob and earth bag structures, stone foundations pulled straight from the property. These aren't primitive huts. They're durable, insulated, and some have stood for over 200 years. A cordwood cabin can be built almost entirely from standing dead timber, firewood-length logs, and a simple lime and sawdust mortar. Material cost on a wooded property? Nearly zero. An earth bag home uses the dirt beneath your feet, packed into bags and stacked into walls that are fireproof, bulletproof, and incredibly energy efficient. One family in the Ozarks built a 900-square-foot timber frame cabin using only trees from their 20-acre parcel. Their total cash outlay was under $2,000, mostly for windows, a wood stove, and roofing metal. No mortgage, no bank, no 30 years of payments. The trick is choosing a building method that matches your land. Lots of trees? Go timber frame or cordwood. Clay-heavy soil? Think cob or earth bag. Rocky terrain? Stone walls with a living roof. Your land already has your house in it. You just have to recognize the materials. Now, let's talk about the bill that follows you everywhere: energy. Item 3. Off-grid energy, wood, solar, and zero monthly payments. Electricity is the bill people think they can't escape, but remote homesteaders figured this out decades ago. A small solar panel system, even just 400 to 800 watts, can power lights, charge devices, run a radio, and keep a small refrigerator going. A basic setup with panels, a charge controller, batteries, and an inverter can cost under $1,500 up front. After that, zero. The sun doesn't send invoices. For heating and cooking, wood is king. A well-managed woodlot on just 5 acres can produce enough firewood to heat a home indefinitely. You're harvesting deadfall and thinning trees that need to come down anyway. The forest improves while your house stays warm. Some homesteaders take it further with rocket mass heaters, super-efficient wood stoves that burn a fraction of the fuel and store heat in thermal mass for hours. One armload of sticks heats a home all night. Between solar for electricity and wood for heat, your energy bill drops to exactly nothing. No grid connection, no propane deliveries, no rate hikes every winter. And I'll be honest with you, this one surprised me the most when I started researching it. The next item is where the food system gets truly self-sustaining. Item 4. Food forests and perennial gardens. Annual gardens are hard work. You plant, you weed, you water, you harvest, and next spring you start all over again. Food forests flip that model completely. A food forest is a layered planting system that mimics a natural forest. Tall fruit and nut trees form the canopy. Berry bushes fill the mid-level. Ground covers like strawberries and herbs carpet the floor. Climbing vines weave through everything.
Once established, a food forest produces food for decades with almost no annual input. A mature apple tree alone can yield 400 to 800 pounds of fruit per year. A single hazelnut bush produces 10 to 15 pounds of calorie-dense nuts. Add in pear trees, plum trees, elderberries, and perennial vegetables like asparagus and rhubarb, and you've built a grocery store that restocks itself every season. The first 2 to 3 years require effort, planting, mulching, shaping, but after that, the system takes over. The trees shade out weeds, fallen leaves become mulch, deep roots pull nutrients from below. Your labor drops to almost nothing while your harvest keeps growing.
One remote homesteader in Appalachia told me his food forest produces more calories per acre than his annual garden ever did, and he spends a tenth of the time maintaining it. This next one is where your animals stop costing you money permanently. Zero-feed livestock systems. Feed is the silent killer of homestead budgets. The average homesteader spends over $500 a year just feeding chickens. Add goats, pigs, or cattle, and that number explodes. But on remote homesteads, the animals feed themselves. Heritage turkeys like Bourbon Reds and Narragansetts forage relentlessly, eating grass, seeds, insects, even small reptiles. During the growing season, they meet most of their dietary needs on pasture alone. A matured tom yields 15 to 25 pounds of meat on mostly forage. Guinea fowl need almost no grain during warm months. They demolish ticks, grasshoppers, and pests while producing lean meat and up to 100 eggs a year. Hair sheep breeds like Katahdin and St. Croix thrive on forage-only systems without shearing, grain, or heavy management. The key is matching the animal to the land. Wooded property, run goats that browse brush and bramble. Open pasture, rotate hair sheep and heritage poultry. Pond on your land, add tilapia that eat duckweed and algae for nearly free protein. Stack these animals in rotation and they feed themselves while improving your soil. Zero feed bills, zero feed store trips, just animals doing what they were bred to do for centuries. And if you think free livestock feed sounds good, the next system eliminates waste entirely. Closed-loop waste systems. On a conventional property, you pay for trash pickup, septic pumping, and often sewage. On a remote homestead, waste becomes your most valuable resource. A well-managed composting system turns kitchen scraps, animal manure, and garden waste into rich soil amendment for free. Humanure composting, done properly with thermophilic composting methods, eliminates the need for septic systems entirely. It sounds extreme until you realize it's been standard practice in sustainable agriculture for thousands of years. Animal waste goes directly back to the land. Chicken manure, one of the richest nitrogen sources available, feeds your compost pile, which feeds your garden, which feeds you and your animals. Nothing leaves the property. Nothing gets wasted. Nothing costs a dime. One homesteader I follow processes every single waste stream on his property. Food scraps go to pigs and chickens. Manure goes to compost. Compost goes to gardens. Gray water irrigates fruit trees. His waste removal bill? Zero. His soil gets richer every year. This is the cycle that industrial agriculture broke. Remote homesteaders just put it back together. Now here's the one nobody expects: how to generate income without ever leaving your land. Remote income and trade systems. Zero bills don't mean zero income. The smartest remote homesteaders still generate cash, they just don't need much of it. Honey is one of the highest value, lowest input products you can produce. A strong hive yields 30 to 100 pounds of honey per year with no feed cost. Raw honey sells for $10 to $15 per pound at farmers markets and online.
3 hives could bring in $900 to $4,500 a year. Excess eggs, squab, herbs, seedlings, and preserved foods create steady trade and sale opportunities. Some remote homesteaders barter with neighbors, firewood for flour, eggs for engine oil, labor for lumber. And then there's the modern advantage: internet access. Even basic satellite internet allows you to sell products online, create content, offer consulting, or do freelance work. Your cost of living is so low that even modest income covers everything you could possibly need.
When your bills are zero, you don't need a salary, you need a trickle. And that changes everything about how you think about work, money, and freedom. I want to tell you something personal because I think it matters here. A few years back, I was drowning in monthly expenses. Feed bills alone were eating $200 a month. Electricity, water, mortgage, it all stacked up until I was spending more to run my homestead than I would have spent just buying groceries like everyone else. I started wondering if self-sufficiency was even real or just a fantasy that costs more than regular life. I was skeptical about everything I'm sharing in this video. Zero feed sounded like a fairy tale. Build your own shelter? I'm not a carpenter. Gravity-fed water? My property didn't even have a visible spring. But I started small. I tried one thing at a time. First, I set up a basic rainwater collection, 2 275-gallon IBC totes off my barn roof. Cost me $60 for used totes and some PVC fittings. Within 3 months, I stopped using municipal water for my garden and animals entirely. That alone saved me $45 a month. Then I planted comfrey and started a deep mulch composting system. Within 1 season, my feed costs dropped by about 35%. My chickens were foraging more, eating comfrey and insects from the compost, and I was buying fewer bags every month. By the end of the 2nd year, I'd added a small solar setup, switched to heritage poultry breeds that foraged harder, and built a gravity-fed water line from a seasonal spring I didn't even know I had until I walked my property with fresh eyes. I'm not at zero yet, I'll be honest about that, but I went from $2,100 a month in total living costs to under $600, and every system I add pushes that number lower. The point isn't perfection overnight. The point is that every single system in this video works, and they stack. Each one you add makes the next one easier and cheaper. That shift changed how I see everything. I stopped asking, how do I earn more, and started asking, what can I stop paying for? That one question changed my entire life. Before you start building your zero-bill homestead, let me save you from the mistakes that wreck most people's progress. Mistake 1, trying to eliminate everything at once. This is the biggest one. People get inspired, sell their house, move to raw land, and try to go fully off-grid on day 1. Then reality hits. No water system ready, no shelter finished, no food growing yet. They burn through savings faster than they would have paying bills. The fix is simple. Eliminate one bill at a time. Start with water or feed costs. Get that system running smoothly, then move to the next one. Stacking slowly is what actually works. Mistake 2, choosing the wrong land. Not all cheap land is good land. A $3,000 parcel in the desert with no water source and no tree cover will cost you more in hauled water and building materials than a $15,000 parcel with a spring, timber, and decent soil. Always evaluate land by what it provides naturally: water access, building materials, forage potential, and solar exposure. Cheap dirt with nothing on it is expensive in the long run. Mistake 3, ignoring local regulations. Some counties have strict building codes, zoning restrictions, or requirements for septic systems that make alternative building methods illegal. People buy land, start building an earthbag home, and get hit with a stop work order. Research county codes before you buy. Look for areas with minimal building enforcement or counties that explicitly allow owner-built structures. The most remote homesteads succeed partly because they're in places where nobody's checking permits. Mistake 4, skipping water storage. Having a spring or good rainfall means nothing if you can't store it. Dry spells happen everywhere.
1 month without rain and your garden dies, your animals suffer, and you're hauling water from town. Invest in storage capacity early. Cisterns, tanks, ponds. Store more than you think you need. Water security is the foundation everything else depends on. Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning. You wake up when your body tells you to, not when an alarm demands it. There's no commute, no bills in the mailbox, no anxiety about next month's payments. You walk outside, your food forest is heavy with fruit, your animals are grazing contentedly on pasture they manage themselves, water flows from a spring through a gravity line you built once, years ago, the woodshed is full, the pantry is stocked with preserved food you grew and harvested yourself. Your cost of living this month is close to nothing. Not because you're deprived, because every system you build works without you writing checks to anyone. This is what true self-sufficiency looks like. Not a fantasy, not a YouTube thumbnail, a real, quiet, deeply free life built on systems that sustain themselves. Every bill you eliminate is a chain you cut, and once they're all gone, you own something no salary can buy: your time.
I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, which bill would you eliminate first? Water, shelter, energy, feed, or something else? I'm reading every single comment. If this video opened your eyes to what's actually possible, hit subscribe and tap that bell. This channel is for people who want real independence, not just a prettier version of the same system that keeps you dependent. Next video, I'm breaking down the exact cost of going fully off-grid. Every dollar, every system, every timeline. The real numbers nobody shows you. You're not going to want to miss that one. Your freedom isn't something you earn from a paycheck. It's something you build, one system at a time.